But I decided to take one last look at the rest of this video, and that's when I found something that makes this a whole lot crazier.
The hair? What do you mean by the hair strand? So you guys may actually not know this, but I used to be a huge Markiplier fan when I grew up. Even the t-shirt that I got on today was from his charity stream over 10 years ago. I don't watch his content anymore because I went from gameplay videos to more like gameplay essays, analysis videos instead. But when I saw this video about Markiplier cheating their FNAF 2 10/20 win, I knew I had to check it out. So today, we're gonna do something a little bit different and check out, did Markiplier cheat his FNAF 2 win by the Bones 5?
If you were a fan of FNAF at any point since the now 11 years since the first FNAF game came out, then there's no doubt that you know who this
hello
guy
everybody.
is.
My name is Markiplier. That's what I grew up with. I watched this a lot growing up.
Markiplier is often credited with the explosion of...
You know what? Before we actually move forward, I feel like we're gonna have Markiplier's cam up in the upper left corner all the time, so we're gonna move me like slightly down so we don't cover this very handsome man here.
FNAF's popularity into mainstream culture back at around 2014 to 2015. In combination with the other Let's Play YouTubers and YouTubers that focused on the lore of the series, Mark's gameplay videos offered viewers a way to experience FNAF without actually playing the games. Though Markiplier was known for more than just playing through these FNAF games. Today, he's often referred to as the king of Five Nights at Freddy's, and the reason for that is his completions of FNAF's max modes.
I remember them. I remember them, yeah. Wait, why is there, there's a block on... Did you see there was a... You see there's a block on screen, editor. If you can like increase the brightness, there's like when the wait, I can actually, hold on, I can, wait, did I actually never notice this? There is a black block on top and bottom of the 5 moving up to a 6. Is this intentional?
You see, in every Five Nights at Freddy's game, the main game is just that, Five Nights at Freddy's. It spans over the 5 nights that you'd see in a normal work week. But once you complete night 5 of the main game, some additional content is unlocked,
like
with
the
a new
6th
night, with the animatronics on an even harder difficulty. Complete that night and you unlock the custom night, where you can now create your own night by manually adjusting the AI of each animatronic.
So what do you mean, so 10/20 is like Freddy, Bonnie on 10 and Chica and Foxy on 20?
Of every animatronic is 20 AI. It didn't take long until players began to attempt 420 mode, or 2020 mode as it was called back then. Markiplier was one of these players, and on August 21st of 2014 would complete the original 2020 mode in FNAF
what is with those black
demonstrating
markers?
his skill within the game. Around 3 months after the original FNAF had blown up in popularity, FNAF 2 released and continued to build the hype around the series. In this new game with more than double the animatronic count of the first, viewers were eagerly waiting to see if the king of FNAF would attempt the now hardest challenge within this.
Can I say one thing before we move on? One thing that really grinds my gears and annoys the shit out of me is when people say FNAF. When people say FNAF. The entire FNAF community says FNAF when it's clearly FNAF. It's FNAF. You gotta say FNAF, not FNAF. FNAF. I don't, it's like a pet peeve of mine. It really pisses me off when people say FNAF and not FNAF. Because it's clearly FNAF, not FNAF. Sorry, I have had this in my mind for so many years, and I had to mention it at some point, and I feel like this video is the perfect place to actually mention my despair for people saying FNAF. Sorry about that.
Series.
Actually, not
All
sorry.
10 animatronics in FNAF 2 set to 20 AI or 1020 mode. And on December 14th of 2014, Markiplier would do just that, uploading a video in which he completed 1020 mode in FNAF 2. This was the video that really cemented Mark's place as the king of FNAF. But as the years went on and people began to understand more and more about how these FNAF games work under the hood, some questions began to arise as to whether or not Markiplier legitimately completed 1020 mode in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Some animatronics seemed to be missing from certain parts of the video, and there seemed to be some weird cuts all throughout it. And those suspicions are what we are here to investigate today. Before we continue with this video, I do want to make it explicitly clear that I do not hate, nor do I want people to hate Markiplier. I grew up watching Markiplier.
Same.
Markiplier is one of the most genuine and down-to-earth people on this platform. I don't want this
I can't
video
wait for
to
Iron
seem
Lung.
like a hit piece
Iron Lung
made
is
out
like
of
so
pure
good.
hate. I just think it's cool that the technical FNAF community is so knowledgeable about these games that with just 15 to 20 seconds of footage, we can tell exactly what's happening within the game. It also gives me an excuse to go a little bit deeper into my favorite original FNAF game that hasn't been seen on this channel in detail in quite a long time. Regardless of what your opinions are, remember it's just a game that he played 10 years ago.
It's just a video game. It's just a video game.
Please keep things to yourself, be respectful, and most importantly, enjoy the video. Now, before we talk about what was truly going on in Markiplier's video itself, I'm going to spend the first part of this video talking about exactly how FNAF 2 works. I won't be going over how everything in this game works, as it does get very deep with some super niche information. I'll just go over everything that is relevant in order to investigate Markiplier's completion. Because of the nature of this video, whenever I talk about anything relating to how FNAF 2 works, I'll put the source code from the FNAF 2 MFA file in the bottom left corner here to show exactly where I'm getting my information from. And before anyone comments about this, yes, all code and gameplay that will be showcased in this video is from version 1.031 of FNAF 2, the same version that Markiplier played 1020 on. The first and most basic thing to go over applies to almost every animatronic in the game, and it's how they move throughout the building. Most FNAF games operate on a system known as movement opportunities. This concept can be broken into two pieces: AI values and intervals. In FNAF 2, all intervals are exactly 5 seconds. This does get a bit wonky on older patches, and we'll get into that later, but just for the sake of this explanation, assume that every interval is exactly 5 seconds long. On every 5-second interval, all regular animatronics within the building will have a chance to move based on their AI value. Foxy and Golden Freddy here work a bit differently, but they aren't really that relevant for anything in Markiplier's completion, so we won't have to talk about them here. Now, let's use Withered Freddy as an example for how movement opportunities work. We could pick anyone in this group here, but Withered Freddy is my favorite animatronic of all time, so we'll go with him. Withered Freddy starts out in the parts and service room, and on his next successful movement will move to the main hallway. So on the next 5-second interval, the game looks at Withered Freddy's AI value. For this example, let's say his AI value is 10. Now, the game will roll a random number between 1 and 20. If this number is less than or equal to Withered Freddy's AI, he will move into the main hallway. Think of it like the animatronic rolling a 20-sided die in order to determine if they're going to move. In fact, this analogy has been used so much that you can almost think of it like the frame rule bus analogy from Super Mario Bros. Speedrunning in FNAF terms. If you've been paying attention, then you might have picked up on the fact that when the game rolls the random value to compare against Withered Freddy's dice roll, it's a value between 1 and 20, the same range of values that we see on the custom night screen. This is why 20 is the max difficulty, because on 20 AI,
they'll
it wouldn't
always
matter what
move.
Freddy rolls.
Oh,
he's always going to
I
be
get
rolling a random number less than or equal to 20. So he's always going to be moving on every 5-second interval. To simplify this further, however high an animatronic's AI value is, that AI value over 20 is their percent chance to move. So for 10 AI, what's the chance? 50%. 15
and for 20,
AI, 75%.
So they'll move
AI,
every
25%.
5 seconds.
Now, there are a few things within FNAF 2 that we have to talk about regarding animatronic movement in combination with movement opportunities. Firstly, animatronics cannot move backwards in FNAF 2. Every regular animatronic has a starting camera and a return point. The starting camera is where they will start at the beginning of the night, and the return point is the camera that they will return back to after they're cleared from the office by using the Freddy mask. As you can see in this clip, after Toy Bonnie leaves the office, he does not go back to Cam 9, but instead returns to a closer camera. For some characters, these cameras are one and the same, but for others, their return points can be much closer to your office than their starting cameras. The only regular animatronics that don't follow this movement rule exactly are Mangle and Withered Freddy, who have two 50-50s in their movement paths. Everyone else makes a beeline straight for your office. This will be super important for later in this video. So remember that animatronics cannot move freely around the building like in FNAF 1, 3,
it's like
4,
a set,
or
it's
6.
a set path,
they are
basically.
Always on a direct path towards your office. Secondly, animatronics in FNAF 2 are never truly at 20 AI. Even when set to 20 AI in the custom night, FNAF 2 will hard cap most of the animatronics
Like
AI
15?
at 15,
I
with
see
Golden
that.
Freddy being capped at 10 and Withered Foxy capped at 17. The reason for this is to keep some randomness at play even on 1020 mode. So remember that for all regular animatronics, even if you set their AI value to any value between 15 and 20, the game will cap it at 15 when you enter the night.
Interesting,
so
actually.
we know that on 1020 mode, every regular animatronic has a 75% chance to move on every 5-second interval. Keep that in the back of your head as it's
So that's me. So even though they're all okay, so even though they're all on 20, most of them is capped at 15, and then you have Foxy at 17 and Golden Freddy at 10. Okay, that makes sense.
75% chance to move on every 5-second interval. Keep that in the back of your head as it's going to be super important later. Now, before we move on to analyzing Markiplier's video, I'd like to give thanks here to It's Taken for helping me with this section and everything that you're going to see from here on out in this video. Now, with all of the background knowledge out of the way, we can discuss Markiplier's video itself. Before we get into the math or anything, it's important to consider why we're even suspicious of this run in the first place. Well, to put it simply, it's because Markiplier didn't include the full uncut run of 1020 mode. But it's not just that. Yes, it is strange that he didn't include the full completion, especially considering that for both Sister Location and FNAF 1, max modes that he did before and after 1020 mode, he did leave in the full run. But you might be saying, well, Mark cut his runs of 420 on FNAF 4 and Nightmare Aggressive only on FNAF 3, so why aren't we talking about those as well? It is true that he cut the footage up in FNAF 3 and FNAF 4. However, I'd like you to pay attention to the placement of his cut at the end of his FNAF 2 run specifically. Here, I'll play the clip.
I'm sweating, I'm crying, that was awesome and awful, I hate it, I never want to do it again. Okay, so on the rumor mill, Five Nights at Freddy's 3, oh, I need a minute. Okay, so the rumor is Five Nights at Freddy's.
After Markiplier completes the night.
But that's just Markiplier like having a mess up. Like we edit our videos, we don't really like fade in between, but when I do a mess up or slip up or when I stutter, usually we like cut it out. We cut to either like full cam zoomed in or like we basically cut around in our videos a whole lot in order to make it coherent and interesting. There's like a red line through the entire video instead of it being like jump cuts and dissolves all the way through. So this is just like him he doesn't know what to say. Like he doesn't know how to finish his sentence where he says, oh, I don't like this, I hate it, I love this. He's like scrambling for words. So this is like just a transition from him thinking to him actually talking about what he was thinking about. I mean, I do the same. Like sometimes I crash out entirely and I need like a couple of seconds like, okay, how do I word? How do I use the English language? How do I wordings?
So on the rumor mill, Five Nights at Freddy's 3, oh, I need a minute.
He says, I need a minute. What's the problem with needing a minute? This is just standard editing because you don't want to include him just being like, I need a minute. And then he sits for like 20 seconds. He gathers his thoughts. He clicks in on the menu. He probably stumbles the intro like I do several times in my videos. And then he starts up again. So I would say this is not really a finding. This is just normal editing in the video.
Okay, so the rumor is Five Nights at Freddy's.
After Markiplier completes the night, he doesn't just go to the custom night to show off his Golden Freddy star, or even re-enter the night to show off the Golden Freddy plushie that you obtain from beating 1020 mode. Instead, he insists that he has to catch his breath after beating the mode, then transitions using a crossfade to the custom night screen where Golden Freddy mode is marked as completed. At no point do we ever see Mark go from the menu to this Golden Freddy screen all in one cut. This led people to speculate whether or not Markiplier had played on an easier difficulty than true 1020 mode, then passed the recording off as legitimate by cutting up the footage.
That's a load of barnacles. I'm not really gonna throw any shade at this guy, but I can imagine the Bones 5, you're a YouTuber, I'm a YouTuber, we're all YouTubers. We are all human beings and we all mess up. Like we all make mistakes. When he says he needs a minute, he just did one of his hardest challenges in video games in FNAF 2. So when he's like, oh god, like, you have to really work on overtime when you're playing. I don't play FNAF myself. I don't like the games personally. I feel like the lore is fine, but FNAF is not really a game that I enjoy. The only FNAF game that I love is Secret of the Mimic, but it's because it's not FNAF. Anyways, when you have just gone through a hard challenge in a video game, when you finally overcome the Elden Ring boss, when you defeat Dark Souls, when you win that game on the hardest difficulty, when you complete The Last of Us on grounded difficulty, you need a minute to take your breath, to gather your thoughts. You're like, oh shit, I just went through 20 hours of grueling gameplay and restarting 200 million times. I finally did it. I need a minute to just relax. So that's what he took. He took a second to relax, and then he went into the menu because it makes sense that you're in the menu instead of like saying, okay, I'm back now, let's go into the menu. Like, it makes way more sense for the video.
In fact, Mark even acknowledges cutting the footage in this exact way as suspicious in his FNAF 3 Nightmare Aggressive Only completion, in which he did a very similar cut.
Aggressive nightmare mode. That is aggressive nightmare mode. Complete, legit, done. Not that it matters because my webcam fell over and I could have cut in between there like, yeah, I was doing Fast 9 no errors radar. But god damn it. Oh man.
The only reason that we aren't talking about that run as well is because there's virtually nothing to go off of in his winning run. Whereas in FNAF 2, as you'll see, there is quite a bit of evidence. I guess the idea might have been a bit fresh in his mind. As early as 11 years ago, a user named Villain Decay brought this up on the r/FNAF subreddit, and I promise, dude, I will avenge you because this man got mauled in the replies. So let's rewind a bit. We know that Markiplier is constantly cutting up the footage throughout the video. So the only footage that matters to us right now are the last 18 seconds after the last gameplay transition, from 9:09 to 9:27, since this is the only raw footage that we know for a fact is from the winning run. If we look closely at this footage, you might notice that something seems a little bit off. Here, I'll play the clip in full.
The music box?
If you don't see it at first, within Mark's footage, there isn't a single sighting of any toy animatronics whatsoever. We only directly see Withered Freddy and Withered Chica. But it doesn't just end there. Remember earlier how I said that movement opportunities and that 75% chance would be really important for this video? Well, there happens to be two characters that make the likelihood of this run being legitimate decrease drastically. They are Balloon Boy and Mangle. Now, what makes Balloon Boy and Mangle special in comparison to the rest of the toy animatronics that are also missing is that they both have distinct sound cues that they play when they move throughout the building, meaning we're able to know if they fail movements even if we can't directly see them. Balloon Boy's movement path is as follows. He starts in camera 10, then moves to camera 7, then 3, 1, 5, and your vent blind spot. He doesn't have renders for cameras 7, 3, and 1, but based on the code that I'm showing in the bottom left corner, you can see that those are indeed his movement paths. On every movement except for his very first, you'll see that this alterable variable b of cam 1 is set to a random number between 1 and 3. These values for alterable variable b correspond to the 3 respective sound cues that Balloon Boy can make when moving between any of these cameras.
Hi. Hello.
So we know that every time Balloon Boy isn't in camera 10, he has a 1 in 4 chance to stay silent on every 5-second interval. Mangle is similar. She starts in camera 12,
oh my god, that's
11,
a long
10,
movement pattern.
From here, Mangle will move into the office hallway, then cam 2. She then has a 50-50 to either move into cam 1 or into the vent. If she moves into cam 1, she'll move back to cam 2 on her next successful movement. If she moves into the vent, she'll move into the vent blind spot after 5 seconds have passed and you pull up the cameras. As I stated before, along with Withered Freddy, this makes Mangle one of the only characters in FNAF 2 that can move somewhat randomly, albeit—
But didn't they say before that animatronics don't go back to the room that they were in before? Because if they go to cam 2, and then go cam 1, and then go cam 2, that's kind of weird, isn't it?
blind spot after 5 seconds have passed and you pull up the cameras.
Or maybe that's just how the game works.
Before, along with Withered Freddy, this makes Mangle one of the only characters in FNAF 2 that can move somewhat randomly, albeit only between 2 cameras. What's important for us though is how Mangle's sound cues work. Once Mangle is in the main hall, the game uses a similar structure to Balloon Boy to play her sound cues for further movements. In fact, it's the exact same structure, with a random number being pulled from 1 to 3, and each of those numbers corresponding to a sound cue that can be heard throughout the building. The only difference is that Mangle's sound cues are produced by her being in a range of positions called hear footsteps then moving, or moving into that range from cam 7, whereas Balloon Boy's happen in his movement code itself, which results in the same outcome.
Okay.
In this case, it sounds like a metal clanging. The only difference between Balloon Boy and Mangle is the variable name, B for Balloon Boy and M for Mangle. So we know that Mangle's movements from the main hall into the office hallway into Cam 2, Cam 2 to Cam 1, and Cam 1 to Cam 2 will all play some sort of universal sound cue, basically anything in this area of the building. We also know that Mangle will return to the main hall upon being cleared, meaning that any movement that isn't her going into your vent will play one of these 3 sound cues.
Okay.
And we know that Balloon Boy will always play a sound cue if he's past his first movement. Now let's watch Mark's winning clip again. Remember to keep your ears peeled for any sound cues.
I hear the vent. I hear the vent. I hear the vent. The vent. I clearly hear the vent.
Well,
I hear
strange.
Mangle. I hear
On top
Mangle.
of not seeing any toy animatronics, we also don't hear any sound cues from Balloon Boy or Mangle. This is weird.
Are we gonna go back and listen to the metallic clinging again?
In this case, it sounds like a metal clanging.
But could there be a chance that the sound would be different if they're already in the vent? Because I hear vent sounds. I hear someone crawling in the vent. I understand the concern about not seeing toy animatronics, but if we take into consideration that every animatronic has like a 75% chance of moving, it makes sense if Mark is looking at the puppet winding up the music box. He goes out, he sees Freddy, then he takes the mask on. Then when he goes into the screen again to like wind up the music box, Freddy is already gone, but that means that there's a 75% chance of another animatronic coming in, and maybe it was Chica's chance to come into the office. So when he takes down the monitor, then it is Chica that shows up. But I do definitely hear in my headphones vent sounds. There are sounds of something moving in the vent.
Please play a sound cue if he's past his first movement. Now let's watch Mark's winning clip again. Remember to keep your ears peeled for any sound cues.
Vent sound. Vent sound. I hear two. I hear
That's a
two.
bit strange.
I hear two.
On top of not seeing any toy animatronics, we also don't hear any sound cues from Balloon Boy or Mangle. This is weird, but just how weird is it? Well, along with some theoretical math that we'll get into later, I also decided to do some field research by collecting some 1020 runs that I know are legitimate. First, I have Oh Look It's FNAF's completion of 1020 mode, the first recorded completion, which was a raw recording in its entirety. For extra insurance, I also went ahead and downloaded the 1.031 patch of FNAF 2 that Markiplier was playing on, and beat 1020 mode with the same old strategy on that patch. If you'd like to see that full video uncut, it's up on my second channel. So let's look at the last 15 seconds of footage from those 2 other completions.
Yeah, I do hear that. I do hear that and see that as well. Yeah, I do. I see it. I see it. I see it. But couldn't he just be, like, extremely lucky? The reason a Mangle sound cue played here is that she's still having a MO while in the vent, but she's stalled and can't leave, so the sound cue still played. You can try this for yourself in custom night and just put Mangle on and leave her in a vent blind spot. She'll keep on playing the metal walks until she leaves. So here's my idea on it. He just got 2 Mangle and 2 Balloon Boy. Couldn't Mark just be extremely lucky because what was it, a 25% chance? There's a 25% chance of it happening. Couldn't the game have just rolled the dice and he was just lucky the entire time?
Well, that's a bit strange. In the last 19 seconds of Oh Look It's FNAF's completion, the same length as Markiplier's ending clip, we heard 4 sound cues from Mangle and 4 sound cues from Balloon Boy. In my run, we heard 2 sound cues from Mangle and even see her physically, and 2 sound cues from Balloon Boy. I mean, that's a little odd. It seems like for both other clips, there was quite a few Mangle and Balloon Boy sounds. It's not just the last 15 seconds either. In fact, if you take any 15 seconds from either of these legitimate completions that isn't at the start obviously, we hear Mangle or Balloon Boy at some point. And that's based only on sound, not even seeing other toy animatronics or counting Balloon Boy's silent points when he's in the vent blind spot, even though he is physically visible. And yes, I not only beat 1020 True Old Strat for this video, but I also sifted through both of these recordings for 2 hours straight, marking out every single 5-second interval and seeing if Balloon Boy and Mangle made any noises.
What about Markiplier's
So
run then?
if you'd like to make this very tired man really happy, if you learned something new, or you're just enjoying the video so far, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. It means the world to me. Now, back to the game. How weird was Markiplier's last 19 seconds, statistically speaking? This clip is approximately 19 seconds long, meaning 3 5-second intervals took place within the clip. We know that everyone moves on 5-second intervals, so if we hear a bang in the vents, we know that that happened on a 5-second interval, and we can use that to map out all the intervals within the clip. For this section, I'll be speaking in video timestamps and referencing intervals. We hear vent bangs at 9:13 and 9:19, but we don't hear any at 9:24, meaning an interval did pass, as it was 5 seconds away from the last vent bang. But no one was close enough to the office to enter the vents or leave them.
That's what I heard, yeah. And then it comes again afterwards. And then the final time it doesn't happen.
We also know that the last interval to happen before this clip had to have been at 9:08, 5 seconds before 9:13. Keep this in mind as this will be important for Mangle specifically later. This means that in the last 19 seconds of Mark's completion, he passes over 3 intervals where either Balloon Boy or Mangle could have made their sound cues. We also know that Balloon Boy couldn't possibly be in camera 10, where his next movement is silent, as right when the clip starts, Mark still has the mask on from a blackout, and we don't hear any immediate banging in the vents. When a vent animatronic that isn't Toy Bonnie leaves the vents, they'll always play this audio file.
That's what we heard twice. But couldn't it be like a toy animatronic that was inside of the vent?
And since we don't hear it at the beginning of the clip, we know that Balloon Boy couldn't have possibly been cleared before this clip started. So he can't be in camera 10 at the point of the clip starting without failing any extra movements. Now we know that in order for this clip to be legitimate, Balloon Boy had to have failed his movement on all 3 intervals, totaling at 3 failed movements. Mangle is a bit more complicated. Unlike Balloon Boy, Mangle's sound cues last pretty long, ranging from 2.2 seconds to 4.7 seconds. Why is this important? Well, remember that this clip fades in at exactly 9:09, and we know the previous interval before this clip started would have been 9:08, meaning even if Mangle's random sound cue selection ended up on her shortest sound cue,
one,
Metal
still
Walk
play
2,
for us.
we'd still be able to hear it as the clip transitions in. If you think I'm just cherry picking here, we can look at earlier clips in the video that were played on actual 1020 and hear this exact thing happening. If we look at 322 to 329, a clip where Mark dies at 325, you can hear a Mangle sound cue from an interval that occurred before the clip started.
God damn it, damn you!
So let's try and pinpoint the best possible position Mangle could be in to favor Mark's odds here. For Mangle to not make any sound cues, we'd have to have her moving from cam 2 into cam 6, as she doesn't make a distinct sound cue on that movement. And we can reason that for the sake of Mark's defense, the banging in the vents is Mangle. We know that Mangle cannot have possibly moved into the vent on the 9:08 interval. Why? Using the same logic that Balloon Boy couldn't have been in cam 10. If Mangle were to move into cam 6 at 9:08, we'd be hearing the last 2 seconds of vent walk 1 as the clip starts. So even in the best case, Mangle is guaranteed to fail a movement at 9:08. From here, things are a little bit more open-ended, and we have to account for that. Mangle and Balloon Boy are special characters in not just how they make sounds when they move throughout the building, but also how they enter your office, as they are the only 2 characters that can sit in your office without jump scaring you. For this reason, Scott coded the game such that Mangle and Balloon Boy aren't able to move into your vent blind spot unless the cameras are pulled up. This doesn't apply to other vent characters like Toy Bonnie or Toy Chica, with Toy Bonnie just needing the light to be off to move in and Toy Chica just moving in regardless. This is important to us because the last interval in this clip happens when Mark is just sitting in the office. So if Mangle is in camera 6 during this interval, it works in Mark's favor when calculating the odds, as she doesn't need to fail a movement here to stay in camera 6. This leaves 3 possible paths in which Mangle can move after she fails the first movement opportunity. She could not move on both intervals, she could not move then move into the vent, and she could move into the vent and then not move. Since all 3 of these events can satisfy this condition, we compute the probabilities of each one, then add them
64,
together.
okay.
Now, we multiply that with the odds of Balloon Boy failing all 3 of his movements, which comes out in total to 13 over 4,096.
So there's 13
This is a
chances
low
of this
chance,
happening.
but it's still possible to happen. Though, if we consider any case where Mangle isn't starting in camera 2, the odds get dramatically worse, instead resulting in 1 in 16,384.
So he has
But
to be, like,
remember,
extremely
this is only
lucky.
factoring in 2 animatronics. There were no sightings of any toy animatronics across this entire clip. We only saw the original 4. That's right, we only saw the original 4 animatronics. Come to think of it, why did Markiplier react so hard when he saw the 3rd star in the menu? You get that from 420 mode, not 1020 mode. Ooh, shit.
That's interesting. The 3rd star, I can see 1, 2, that's C1. Beat 6, oh, you have beat game, beat 6, and then beat C1. Oh.
Ooh, shit. If we circle all the way back to when we were first talking about why this run was suspicious, it was because of the cut after Markiplier beat it, cutting from the menu to the Golden Freddy custom night screen. Why didn't he just go straight to the custom night menu all in one clip? Because his winning run wasn't performed on 1020 mode, it was performed on 420 mode. Doesn't it make a lot of sense? We don't see any toy animatronics in the entire clip, and the odds of Mangle and Balloon Boy being in positions where they can't be heard or seen are very, very low. But to me, what's so weird is how Mark reacts when he sees the 3rd star. You see that he pauses for a moment, sees the star, then pops off even more than he already was. However, you don't get this star from 1020, you get it from 420 and only 420. If we go into the save file for the game, you'll see these variables, C1 through 10. All of these variables correspond to a custom night preset within the custom night menu.
Golden Freddy
if
C10.
one of them is set to 1, then you obtain a specific reward for that preset. For 420 mode or C1, you unlock the gold star. For new and shiny, you unlock the Toy Bonnie action figure. For Double Trouble, you unlock the Bonnie plush. For Night of Misfits, you unlock the BB plush. For Foxy Foxy, you unlock the Foxy plush. For Ladies Night, you unlock the Chica plush. For Freddy's Circus, you unlock the Freddy plush. For the Cupcake Challenge, you unlock the Cupcake. For Fazbear Fever, you unlock Withered Freddy's microphone. And for 1020, you unlock the Golden Freddy plush. All of these events are completely exclusive to their own presets, meaning if you beat 1020 and only 1020, you would still have 2 stars. Why does this matter? Well, Markiplier didn't have any of the rewards on his desk for any of the other presets. He just went straight into 1020 mode. You can even see in the clip from 525 to 540 that when Markiplier dies and the game goes back to the main menu, he only has 2 stars. He had never played any of the presets before 1020. So if he went back into the menu after beating Golden Freddy mode and only Golden Freddy mode, he should have seen this. This is a file that I had beat 1020 and no other presets on. And as you can see, I have the star in the custom night menu, Golden Freddy is on my desk, but I don't have the 3rd star in the main menu.
And what's the reason for that?
So we determined that Markiplier played 420, acted like it was 1020, then it cut the footage to the custom night menu to show the supposed proof that he had beaten 1020 mode. But if he didn't beat 1020 mode, how did he get these stars in the custom night menu? Believe it or not, FNAF games are insanely easy to cheat, especially the first and second game. The most well-known method is a simple cheat code. In the first FNAF game, by pressing C, D, then the plus key on the number pad of the keyboard, you could instantly jump to the winning night frame and skip the night. This also worked in FNAF 2, with the added condition that your cursor had to be over Toy Freddy's nose on this poster in the office. However, this method wasn't discovered until the code of both FNAF 1 and 2 was decompiled, which happened after Markiplier's video. But the other well-known method was was known way before his video, and that method is file editing. When I previously covered this topic in the technical FNAF iceberg video, a lot of people were defending Markiplier by saying that he wouldn't be able to figure out how to file edit, and if anything, that just kind of seems like an insult to the guy's intelligence.
Yeah.
If anyone here has ever played modded Minecraft, it's essentially just that, but even easier. If you're on a Windows
just change the
computer,
0 to a
just
1.
press the Windows key and R at the same time to pull up the run window.
And then you gotta go into
Then
local.
type in %app
Yeah, app
data,
data,
and
app data,
go into the
into
MMF
local.
applications folder. Open
Yep.
Freddy 2 in any kind of text editor, and boom, you can now change your save file.
So we can see here that you have beat 6, that's beat all the 6 nights. You have turn 7, beat 7. So it would make sense if you beat the game, that gives you 1 star. And then beat the 6th night and the 7th night gives you another star. And then beat C1 gives you the 3rd star. And then you would have to beat C10 to get the 4th star. Am I on the right track or on the wrong track? Because it sounded like there were like conditions, like you had to beat the game and then beat the bonus nights and then beat 420 and then beat 1020 to get 1, 2, 3, and 4 stars. I feel like that's kind of how I understand it. I'm definitely wrong, but that's how it sounds almost.
Setting C10 to 1, you've now beaten Golden Freddy mode. Plenty of tutorials on how to do this existed before Mark's video, and if you still think Mark wouldn't be able to figure this out, here's a Steam post from my profile in 2015 that I made at 9 years old. I finally beat 1020 mode. Yeah, I am sure you did, buddy. If 9-year-old me can figure it out, I'm sure Mark can too. And that was about where I was ready to wrap up this video. The extremely low odds when only factoring in 2 animatronics, the fact that 0 toy animatronics were seen anywhere in the last clip, combined with the suspicious cuts that weren't present in his sister location and FNAF 1 videos, and the 3rd star, all point to the theory that Mark pretended like he was playing 1020 mode while actually playing on 420 mode, then cut the footage, edited his file for the supposed proof that he had beaten 1020 mode, then made a jump cut after acting like he needed to take a breather. But I decided to take one last look at the rest of this video, and that's when I found something that makes this a whole lot crazier. Bring out the detective thread board because things are about to get even more interesting.
Alright, I'm ready. I'm ready. The hair... What do you mean by the hair strand?
I think even without this next part of the video, it's pretty clear what happened. But this was just a lot of other weird stuff that I found in every part of the video that isn't the last 19 seconds. YouTube videos back in this time period didn't have much editing involved. They were more carried by the personality of the content creator. So I was able to map out every single cut in this video and analyze and compare every single clip throughout it. The first thing that I noticed was that there were some stark contrasts between some of the clips at the beginning of the video and some of the clips near the end of the video. I first went through every clip and applied the same tests that I did on the ending clip, listening for Balloon Boy and Mangle's universal sound cues. Out of the 37 total clips, in 5 of them, Mark was at the very start of the night explaining something to the audience, so we'll disregard those. In 2 of the clips, he dives too early into them to make anything out. Then in 27 clips, with 15 of them being deaths, we either see or hear Mangle or Balloon Boy in some way. And with how much more active everyone generally seems to be, we can safely say that these clips are likely to be on 1020 mode. That leaves clip 18, 20, 35, and as we already discussed, the 37th clip in which Mark completes the night. When I was first piecing together the rest of this video after initially studying the last clip, I was looking for something, anything that was changing between clips so that I could possibly link them together. Obviously, nothing in the game would work, but maybe something in the facecam will. So I began to study the facecam in between clips and see if anything at all changed between them. Well, I noticed that sometimes when Mark dies, he tends to touch his hair in some way, meaning that if his hair was in the exact same position throughout multiple different clips, then those clips are likely to be from the same run. This isn't exactly concrete, but it was what led me to consider that maybe other parts of the video aside from the last 19 seconds should also be looked at and taken into consideration. And if you look really closely at the top left corner of Mark's hair, you can see this tiny strand that pokes out and casts a pretty noticeable shadow on his forehead.
Yeah, I see.
And we see this across all of these suspicious clips. 18, 20, 35, and 37. You can even see in transitions, like clip 35 to 36, how it disappears then reappears on the transition to clip 37. Applying the BB and Mangle tests from the ending clip to all of these clips with the hair strand, we have these results.
Does this prove that it's like different
Some parts
runs?
of these clips are just absolutely insane, like in clip 35 where we don't hear a single vent noise.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on! Hello?
Some others also just kind of come off as like bad acting. Like in clip 18, what is bro stressing about? No one is here and he has like a full box.
Because he's locked in. Because
if we
he's
take all of this into consideration,
there was like vent
it's
sounds.
very likely that these 4 clips were all part of the same winning run, and were stitched in with 1020 fails to give the illusion that the run was legitimate. I also decided to keep track.
Do you think he would do that? So we're talking about he played through 1020, but he would then splice that in with 420? Would he really do that? I mean, it makes more sense if it was like maybe just multiple runs stitched together, because I do remember, like he talked about, back then, like almost 10 years ago on YouTube, this was before videos could be over 20 minutes. I remember when was that limit changed? Hold on. In 2010, YouTube raised the 10-minute cap to 15 minutes, enabling longer uploads. So it's so we have in July 2010, this is according to Google's own AI bullshit. So in 2006, 10-minute limit. And then in 2010, they increased it to 15 minutes. And then after 2010, they began allowing longer videos, even hours, for verified accounts, removing hard limits for most creators. And this was uploaded in, what was it, 11? So this is after, isn't it? This was uploaded in December of 2014, meaning it's a whole other year after that hard cut was changed. Yeah, in December 2010, effectively enabling hour-long videos and much longer for verified users. I wonder what people are saying in here. The suspicious hair strand of 1020.
Which led to some even weirder findings. Of all of the clips in the video, Mark is only shown to make it past 2 AM in 6 clips. The 4 clips with the hair strand that we talked about being part of the quote-unquote winning run played on 420 mode, but also 2 additional clips. In clips 25 and 36, we do see toy animatronics, and we don't see the hair strand, so we know it's not part of the clips that could make up the 420 run. But everyone just seems super slow, or just not as active as they normally would be in 1020 mode. This is especially evident in clip 25, when the danger ambience, that FNAF 2 meme noise that everyone knows and loves, completely stops.
That's Foxy.
Ah! Ah! So lucky.
If you don't know how insane that is, this danger audio plays not just when someone is in the hallway or in the vents, but if anyone is in cam 5, 6, 1, or 2. Do you realize how insane that is? At 4 AM and 1020, no one was even remotely close to Mark. The intervals for this clip are as follows, so we have 3 movement opportunities total within the clip. In order for the danger sound cue to completely stop, assuming best case odds that everyone was just magically cleared from the office the frame this clip started, 4 animatronics would have to fail 3 movements in a row, as their return points are only 1 camera outside this range. Freddy would have to either fail one of his 3 movements, or succeed all 3 movements and hit a 50-50 to move back into cam 7. Balloon Boy would have to fail at least 1 movement, so accounting for the fact that his movement could be any of his 3 intervals, we use this formula. And Toy Freddy would have to fail 2 movements, but we account for the fact that it can be any 2 movements, and that comes out to, in the absolute best case, 1 in 240,136,397. Best case. I also want to make it clear here that the situation in which everyone is at their starting positions the moment the clip starts literally cannot happen in normal gameplay. If we were to somehow simulate something like this happening, at the very minimum, we'd need 2 extra failed movements from Withered Bonnie or Withered Chica in order to keep them in their starting camera as everyone is being cleared, which bumps the odds up to a cool 1 in roughly 4 billion. Now, I've played a lot of FNAF 2 in my time, and I will tell you firsthand, I have never, ever seen a clip of legitimate 1020 where the danger ambience completely stops, making it highly unlikely that this clip was played on 1020 either. If you're curious about the other oddball clip, while not as impressive as the 1 in 4 billion, is still decently rare. I'll throw up the math on screen for this one, but it all boils down to there only being one sound cue in this clip from Baby and Mangle, when you're expected to hear around 6 on average, which comes out to a 1 in 782. Magnitudes below clip 25, but still pretty rare nonetheless.
This is way above my pay grade.
Magnitudes below clip 25, but
I
still pretty rare
suck at
nonetheless.
math.
All of this leads to the fact that Mark, at least on legitimate 1020, might have not even gotten past 2 AM. Since every clip past 2 AM either has the hair strand with no toys and no BB or Mangle sounds, we know it was part of the quote-unquote winning run played on 420
I feel like it's stretching
mode.
it.
If there's
It's
no
stretching
hair
it a
strand,
bit.
the clips just have insane odds that make it seem very unlikely to have been played on 1020 mode. And honestly, this does kind of make sense. The way that Mark was playing in a lot of these clips just isn't really the correct way to play the old strat. He's winding for 4 ticks, then pulling down the cams in some of these clips.
But he didn't go for a strat, he just played the game.
6 at the absolute minimum. And as someone who beat 1020 with the true old strat, you need every tick you can get.
But the thing is, I do believe when Markiplier is like one of those people, one of those YouTubers that basically popularized Five Nights at Freddy's. So how would you get a strat if you're like one of the first people, or like, you could be one of the first people to actually beat the 1020 mode. You would have to go in blind and figure out your own strategy, figure out the own mode for it to work for you. I know that he has crowned himself the king of Five Nights at Freddy's. I remember I watched a lot of his Five Nights at Freddy's videos back then, and I knew that he struggled a lot with it. I also have a counter argument I want to mention in the end of this video when we actually reach the end, but I don't believe he would gain anything from cheating in this case. Like, what would you gain from that? Because Markiplier at that point was already popular, right? He already had like millions of subscribers. That was in that case, if he wanted to uphold or keep the title as like the king of Five Nights at Freddy's. And as far as I know, it was just like a goof or like a joke or like a meme. Like having the title of king of Five Nights at Freddy's is like a joke title almost. It's a video game. It's not really that serious.
Vent characters in Toy Bonnie are extremely punishing to your music box. Now, if we look back at everything from the perspective that Mark was playing legitimately, he would have to cut the winning night footage such that only the last 20 seconds were shown on camera, react to the star that is obtained from 420 mode despite never being seen with it before his win, react so hard and be so mentally overwhelmed that he's forced to cut to the Golden Freddy custom night screen, gameplay that doesn't really match up with how you're supposed to play the true old strategy, and never.
But again, what if this is before the strategy? What if he found out his own strategy?
Unlikely to be on a 1020 setup. I guess there is no definitive 100% proof on the matter, but if I were to judge the legitimacy of the run, I think that it's pretty clear that Mark just beat 420 mode and inserted fails of 1020 mode throughout the video in order to make it look like he was playing on true 1020. So this begs the question, why did Mark do this? Well, Markiplier isn't known on YouTube for his insane gaming skill or anything. He's just known for being a funny and entertaining guy. And he didn't mean anything bad by faking his run. It's not like the video was any less entertaining. But it's also important to consider that the style of content people would upload back then was so much different than how it is today. These days, we see YouTubers uploading maybe once a month, with high quality, movie-like edited videos. But back in those days, you'd see big name Let's Players dropping on the daily. Mark even says in his video that FNAF 3 is on the horizon, and he likely felt pressure to get this video out before FNAF 3 would release. He tried 1020 at first, and realized that the luck, skill, and most importantly time required for it just would not work with his schedule and upload frequency. And in all honesty, I get it. The pressure to get videos out at a reasonable frequency is insanely taxing. Trust me, I have been there plenty of times. Why do you think I used to like mentally break down in almost every video when I was on my come up back in the summer of 2024? Not because of the challenges themselves, but the pressure to get them out and satisfy the audience. It's a very real thing. And as someone who dedicates their life to these FNAF challenges, it has taken me months at a time to complete some of the hardest ones. Granted, those are more so from building up skill over a long period of time instead of just getting lucky like in 1020 mode, but even as a victor of 1020 mode with the true old strategy, you still need an insane amount of luck to complete it. And it definitely took me longer than the one recording session that Mark was willing to give it. And that's coming from someone who sweats day in and day out at these games. As a casual gamer who's just trying to have a good time and make an entertaining video, I don't think anyone should be super surprised that Mark did this. Ultimately, Markiplier is an entertainer first and and foremost. And in order to satisfy the quota for upload frequency back then, he really didn't have a choice. As speedrunner Carl Jobst once said, people don't cheat for faster times, they cheat to get those times faster.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to dedicate the last portion of this video to addressing some common counter-arguments that I often see regarding Mark's 1020 completion. The first and most common counter-argument that I've seen has to do with how Mark edits the footage, with something along the lines of, well duh, Mark cut his footage, he wouldn't want people to sit through a ton of footage. And that would be fine, except for the fact that he cut the footage at the single most important point where you shouldn't cut it to prove that it was legitimate.
He needed a break.
And remember,
he needed a break
earlier
still.
in the video, Mark knows this and acknowledged it in his Nightmare Aggressive Only completion. It also doesn't help that Markiplier showed his 2020 mode completion of FNAF 1 in its entirety. If he didn't want the footage to be repetitive, he definitely wouldn't have left it all in there.
You only have 4 animatronics there, and Golden Freddy.
The single simplest gaplay loop on top of having the longest nights.
But counter argument here as well. Like FNAF 1 is arguably the easiest one because you have 4 animatronics and Golden Freddy as well. And if the loop is just back and forth between 2 doors and chicken camps, where in FNAF 2 it is twice as hard when you have 10 animatronics in total, and there's like a lot more going on. So in this case, if you can keep, like, depending on his capacity, his mental capacity, if he can keep on entertaining viewers while playing the game and flawlessly winning the hardest mode without breaking a sweat, then yeah, you don't really need to do any editing or cut any parts out. But I can imagine for the second game, doing the 10-20 challenge is gonna take you a lot of different hours. And when you don't upload the longer videos, even though we have confirmed that he could have uploaded a 1-hour video, he most likely wanted to keep it on the down low because that was the game. The game back then was not uploading 1-hour Let's Plays. It was uploading short Let's Play videos that satisfied people, and then you move on to the next one. So maybe he sat down and played for a couple of hours, and that's why the different runs are like spliced together, because he maybe attempted the same run over and over again and made like a short compilation. So you had like the best of all the runs in order to make the video either longer or more interesting. And then you have at the end where he finally beats it. The reason for the cut again is because he needed a break. Imagine if you're sitting down for 3, 4, maybe 5 hours playing the same game, using the same strategy, doing the same moves back and forth, and you finally beat the mode, the game that you have been sitting for the last 5 hours doing the same shit over and over again. You need a break. It's like a burden has been lifted off your shoulders. You just need like a couple of minutes to be like, yes, I did it. I finally did it. And if the video is already 10 minutes long, that's where you gotta make that cut. That's why you gotta make that sacrifice. Because people don't want to see him just be like, oh, I did it. I won the game. Look at me, guys. I'm such a good YouTuber. I'm Markiplier. Look at me. They don't want to see that. They want to see FNAF gameplay, which is why him sitting down, taking a well-deserved break, was cut from the actual video. That's my counter argument.
I just don't really see the argument here. And if you want to
Fair point. Hey, listen, you know, opinions are subjective. That's totally fine. That's my opinion. This is your opinion.
Mark was editing his footage more as time went on and his channel evolved, then why did he also have his sister location 1020 win uncut as well in that video? It just doesn't really make any sense. The only other counter argument that I've seen, as funny as it sounds, is that Mark is just a lucky guy. Listen, I want to believe this as much as you guys do, but you have to remember that in this case, luck is the secondary aspect of what we're looking at here. The only reason that it was worth looking at the odds of these clips was because Mark reacted to the 3rd star in the menu and cut the footage. If anyone got crazy luck on a full raw recording of 1020, there wouldn't be a reason to doubt it. The math just backs up the theory that he faked the run, but that theory was originally created from the strange cuts. There was also a counter-argument that because Mark said that he was playing for 9 hours, the probability should be adjusted for the amount of runs that he played in that time frame. I initially thought about adjusting for this as well, but as I was talking to It's Taken about it, he brought up a good point. The odds of animatronics not appearing would only factor into the overall probability if they had a direct correlation to failing runs.
Can I make another counter argument? What if you try to play the game for 9 hours? And here's my reason for it. because we're talking about I'm gonna say it how I feel like it. We're talking about a 10-year-old game that is basically running on spaghetti code. FNAF 2 was developed in like a shorter of a development time than FNAF 1. Like, we're talking about the game became popular and then Scott Cawthon basically pushed out the second one as fast as possible. That's as far as I remember. So what if when you get into those 9 hours, the game starts breaking apart? If you play through the same mode over and over again without crashing the game, what if the code just starts breaking? I have seen speed runs, even like Mario 64 speed runs, where there's like a speed run where a guy, he sits down and does nothing for 20-second hours, and then there's like a code overflow, and that basically makes them do a certain skip or beat a certain game. If you play the same game for 9 hours, maybe there is some overflow that happens, which is why certain sounds doesn't play. But has that been debunked? Has someone did someone actually sit down and try and reattempt playing FNAF 2 1020 mode for 9 hours to see if the code actually breaks apart?
Look at the ending clip. In the last 20 seconds of the night, whether or not BB or Mangle move doesn't matter. If they're just moving around, it has zero correlation to the win rate of the night at this point. Therefore, the number of runs that Mark played, it doesn't really affect anything. It only adjusts the probability by how likely you are to die to those characters in that situation. He could have played 1,000,000 runs, and the odds that Balloon Boy and Mangle produce by not moving during those last 20 seconds would be the exact same. If you compare this to something like XOR spawns in Ultimate Custom Night, where the win rate is very dependent on the RNG there, then attempt frequency matters much more. And hey, who knows? Maybe across all of these clips, Mark just had some spiritually insane luck, and if he posts the raw footage and it's somehow legit, I will retract everything I said in this video and call it a literal miracle. With that said, I do want to reiterate the point that I made at the start of this video. I do not hate Markiplier, and I do not want people to hate Markiplier. I just thought that it was cool to do an insanely deep dive into the code and math behind this little game called FNAF 2. People really wanted to see a deeper dive into this subject from when I first covered it in the technical FNAF iceberg video.
It's still interesting. It's still very interesting.
So I hope you enjoyed this video. And hey, if you're new here, why not subscribe and check out some other videos that I have made where I take on some insane FNAF challenges. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please keep your thoughts to the comments of this video and channel. Don't harass Markiplier. Peace.
I want to say it's an interesting video and an interesting deep dive basically going into the code. I want to show you guys something very quickly. I don't know if I can find it, but there's like a certain game that Markiplier, he played a lot. I want to see if I can find it. So it's a game called Vanish. This one here called Vanish. And let me show you something. If I search for Markiplier Vanish, right? There should be a playlist. Here we have a game, and I remember watching this 12 years ago. He played through Vanish 9 times, and on his final attempt, he actually finally got it. This is a procedurally generated game where you, and I remember this from my memory. It's a procedurally generated game where you are trapped in a sewer down below, and you're basically forced to find a key and find the exit. There is a monster roaming around in here as well, and if you are spotted, you are basically cooked. And as you can see here, Markiplier played through this game 8-9 times in total. So if he were supposed to cheat, like, why would he cheat in a FNAF video that he only uploaded once? He uploaded one single FNAF video going through that mode, but he played this game 9 single times in order to finally achieve the ending and win the game. That's my counter argument, because I believe, even though, let's just say that the math is right. Let's say the math is right, it's on point. I'm not really a FNAF guy. I don't really dive into code. I don't really know if anything is true or false unless I do it myself, unless I actually go in and find and actually look at the code. Let's say that the math is on point. I would rather say I want to test if the game starts breaking apart after certain actions, because I feel like it's more likely that spaghetti code starts to become unraveled, starts to break apart, the more you actually play it. So his run may have been extremely, like, once in a lifetime, lightning in a bottle kind of lucky. That could have been it. And he won. He took a break. He then recorded showing the proof. I won. I got the stars and so on. But again, if he cheated, like, he could have easily milked FNAF 2 1021 for 9 videos like he did with Vanish. But he didn't do that. That's my counter argument. I feel like I'm kind of going in circles for a second here. But again, why would you only, if I search for like Markiplier FNAF 2 1020. Here we go. There's like a playlist. There's a playlist here. This playlist, we have Five Nights at Freddy's 2020. We have FNAF 2 2020. We have FNAF 3, FNAF 4, FNAF 5, and so on. There's only one video. There's only one video of Markiplier playing FNAF 2 1020 mode. Why would he only do that once? But then milk Vanish, a unknown game that nobody is talking about to this day. Oh, everyone is talking about FNAF. People are only talking about FNAF. Nobody's talking about Vanish. If you guys want to check my counter argument, check out the Vanish playlist. It's gonna take like 2 hours. Like, just watch these videos because I remember this in the back of my mind. I watched all of this shit as a kid. He played through this game. Loss. Finally down here, he actually finds the exit door.
No. Oh my god. Oh my god.
He finds the exit door with the key.
Is it real? Is it fake? Is it a trick? Is this a trick? You're not f***ing with me.
There's gotta be a cut here as well, right? There's gotta be a cut here as well.
Oh, it feels so good. You guys.
There's a cut. Look, there's a cut. So basically we go through like 2 minutes of him. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Good. Oh, it feels so good.
And then there's a cut. He's like, oh my god, I won. It took so long, guys. We finally did it. He goes on for like 20 minutes, 2 hours, like, oh, we did so good, guys. Oh my god. There's a cut because people don't want to listen to that for 2 hours.
Oh, this game has been plaguing me for a year. Do you know how many emails and Twitter comments and all that other lovely stuff is like, beat Vanish, you gotta beat Vanish, just keep trying. I did.
You see, right? Why would he cheat his FNAF run, but keep on playing a game that nobody talks about to this day? That is my counter argument, everybody. Guys, I think I'm gonna mention this one as well. Do not harass the Bones 5. They did a very good deep dive video on the code, showcasing the different possibilities and outcomes and so on, but do not harass them in any sort of way. Again, if the math is correct, I understand that it's kinda suspicious that Markiplier, he won that 1020 mode with the conditions that he got in the game, if that makes sense. I just want to say again, he could have been extremely lucky, and I would love to see someone actually test out the theory, like the 9-hour theory. Play FNAF 2 for 9 hours, and then see if the code breaks apart. If the code breaks apart, if the audio, if the sound start missing, if there are like any problems, if the game starts experiencing inconsistencies after 9 hours, that is when all of this math breaks apart. Guys, I'm done yapping. Show some support for the Bones 5 because they probably used a lot of time and energy to, first of all, master the game themselves, beat the 1020 mode, go through all the research, and check out all of the things that that happened in Markiplier's video alongside other gameplays, other like showcases of the same victory of the same mode. So check out the Bones 5, subscribe to their channel, watch their videos, and in the future, if there's anything Markiplier related, if we're talking about Markiplier related from like 10 years ago, I am an expert. I am the guy you guys gotta talk to, okay? So with that, I want to say thank you all for watching. Let me know your theories in the comments below. I want to know what you guys think about this, and if you remember Vanish, you're an OG. You are such an OG. Thank you guys for watching. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, and with that said, I will head out.